Welcome, students, to our next session of online learning. The poem for today is Fire and Ice by Robert Frost. This is the second poem in your book. Fire and Ice is one of Robert Frost's most popular poems. It was published in December 1920 in Harper's Magazine and in 1923 in his Pulitzer Prize-winning book New Hampshire. Let's now read the poem. Some say the world will end in fire. Some say in ice. From what I have tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. But if it had to perish twice, I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction, ice is also great and would suffice. Now, let's enrich our vocabulary. Perish means to die or to end. Suffice means to be sufficient or enough. Now let's look at the gist of the poem. The poem, Fire and Ice, expresses the profound idea that the world would end in either of the two ways, by fire or by ice. People are divided in this issue. Some believe that fire will become the cause of the end, and others think that ice will end the world. Both the components are compared with self-destructing human emotions, hatred, and desire. The poet says that from what he is aware about fiery desires, he would favor the ones who say that it would be fire. But later he says that ice or hatred created by cold reasoning is also equally capable of destroying the world. Therefore, if earth was to end twice, ice would be just as good as fire. Now, let's look at the poem line by line to get a clear understanding. First two lines. Some say the world will end in fire. Some say in ice. Now, children, in your mind, just imagine there are two groups of people. One group believes that the earth will come to an end in fire. The other group believes the earth will come to an end in ice. Now, what is the common thing between both the groups? The common thing is that both the groups believe that the world will end at some time. But the problem is that no one knows how. And so there is a controversy. One group believes it will end in fire. The other group believes it will end in ice. Now, let's look at line 3. From what I have tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. And so now here in the third and fourth line, the poet is expressing his opinion. The poet says that he is with those people who favor the point that the world will end with fire, and fire symbolizes desire. So easy for you to learn. Look at the rhyming word fire, desire. So the poet says that he is with those people who favor, that is, who are of the opinion, that is the group which is of the opinion that the world will end in fire. The poet is taking their side, and fire also symbolizes human desire. Then, if we look at the next two lines, the poet further says, but if it had to perish twice. Now, but if it, what is it? That means the earth. That means if the earth had to perish twice, second time, twice here means second time, he says in the next line, I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction, ice is also good and would suffice. So that means he says, although he is favoring that group of people, that the earth will come to an end in fire, but he says, if the earth gets the second chance to perish, he is very sure this time it will perish because of hatred, that is, ice, and it is going to come to an end. Now, this poem is a symbolic poem. Two opinions as to the end of the world are presented over here. There is no doubt about the fact that the world will surely come to an end. Now, two things have been used by the poet to define what he is wanting to say. One is fire and the other is ice. Now, fire and ice are two opposite symbols. Now, if you look at the literal sense or the literal meaning of the word fire, it means rapid destruction. A small fire anywhere just spreads in fraction of seconds and destroys everything. So literal meaning is that if the earth comes to an end with fire, if destruction begins in one place because of fire, it will quickly spread and very soon everything will come to an end. Now, what is the symbolic meaning of fire? Symbolic inference is, here the poet says, fire also means desire or greed. Now, whose desire and greed? Definitely human desire and human greed. The more you try to satisfy them, the more they increase. That means one demand, then second demand. It is uncontrolled and unending. You just go on wanting more and more and more. Fire goes out of control in no time, and so also our desires. Man does not have any control over his desires. His wish list or demand goes on increasing and increasing and increasing. There is never a full stop to the demands which humans have. So that is why he compares the desire of man with fire. If in literal sense, fire can rapidly destroy or quickly destroy in fraction of seconds everything, so also the desire or the greed of man can completely destroy him. Now let's look at ice. Now in the literal sense, glaciers are melting. It's a silent and slow destruction or damage. Now, the symbolic inference of the word eyes is hatred. Hatred which leads to rigidity. Have you seen ice? Can you compress ice? It is rigid. It is tough. So also, hatred makes a person rigid. It quietly kills you from within. Ice makes the body numb. Hatred makes us insensitive and cruel. It gives numbness to our mind and thoughts. When you hate someone, what happens? Your heart, your mind, they get blocked. You look at the person wearing the specs of hatred and you do not see anything good in that person. And what happens? From within, it is destroying you. It is destroying your relations with others. So, it is a destruction which is not seen, but it is happening quietly, silently within you, but it is destroying. So, fire is rapid destruction. Symbolic inference of fire is human desire and greed. Second, literal sense, ice. Ice is silent and slow damage or destruction. Symbolic inference of ice, as per the poet, is hatred, which leads to rigidity, and finally, destruction. Two ways to end the world is either fire or ice. And both of these are growing at such rapid speed that the world will soon end either way. Whichever way the world comes to an end, the world will surely come to an end. Looking at the conditions around you, you can see so many things happening around you. Crime is increasing. People's greed, people's desire are making them do such wrong things, and it is like spreading. Now these days we are talking of coronavirus. Why are we in quarantine? Because the infection spreads like wildfire. So also, when our desires are like this, we have become so much demanding that we do not think of the other person, and it is slowly destroying humankind. So, the author is talking about the literal end of the world, but he is also talking about the power that human beings have to destroy, to harm, and to eventually destroy one another. So we human beings are harming others or harming ourselves, and in doing so, we are destroying one another. And God, when He created this earth, He created human beings not to fight, not for any purpose where you do not love each other. The very second commandment in the Bible, in the New Testament says, love one another. But what are we doing? We are filled with hatred. Our never-ending, unstoppable desires, they are destroying the world. If it is not our desires, then it is our hatred that is destroying the world. So it is either fire or ice which is going to destroy the world or end the earth. Similarly, it is going to be either fire or ice which is going to end the earth. But one thing is certain, the earth will come to an end. Now let's look at the literary devices. The rhyme scheme. Now there are 9 lines. So what we are going to do is divide them in sets of 3. Now look at the screen. Now let's look at the first set of rhyming words. line 1, 3, and 4. It is fire, desire, and again fire. Since these three words are rhyming, so in 1, 3, and 4, let's write A, and A, because these are the words which have the similar rhyme. These words are rhyming. Now, line 2, 5, 7, and 9. Their rhyming words are eyes, twice, eyes, suffice. So, now let's mark these lines as B. Then, line 6 and 8, the words which are rhyming are the last two words, hate, great. So now we'll mark them as C, C. So now look at the rhyme scheme. A, B, A, B, C, B, C. This is how we are able to find out the rhyme scheme in a poem. So all the words which were rhyming, the first set of rhyming words were marked as small a. Second set of rhyming words were marked as small b. And third set of rhyming words were marked as small c. After marking them, then what is the sequence? ABA, ABC, BC, D. The second literary device is anaphora, the repetition of a word at the start of two or more consecutive lines. Line 1 and 2. Look at line 1. Some say the world will end in fire. Line 2 also begins with some say in eyes. So some say, both the lines are beginning with some say. That is why it is anaphora. Third, enjambment. We had done this poetic device in our previous session when the same sentence continues to the next line without the use of any punctuation marks. It is called enjambment. Dust of Snow, the entire poem was enjambment. But here the entire poem is not so. Look at lines 7, 8 and 9. No punctuation marks. To say that for destruction, eyes is also great and would suffice. So here in these lines we have enjambment. Fourth is alliteration. What is alliteration? Repetitive use of a consonant sound at the start of two or more consecutive words, like some say. Both the words are starting with the same letter. Some say. And so that is why alliteration. Fifth, assonance. Again, we had done this in our previous session. Assonance, the prominence or repetition of a vowel sound throughout a line or a sentence is called assonance. Now in line 1, if you see, will end in fire. Will end in fire. Now in this line, I sound is prominent. Then look at line 4. I hold with those who favor fire. Listen again. I hold with those who favor fire. Both I and O sounds are prominent. Then look at line 6. I think I know enough of hate. Again, both I and O sounds are prominent. Next, consonants. This also we had done in our previous session in Dust of Snow. The prominence or repetition of a consonant sound throughout a line or a sentence is called consonance. Now, this repetition is not at the beginning of the word. It is either in the middle or towards the end. Because if it is in the beginning, then it would be alliteration. So do not confuse consonance and alliteration. Alliteration is repetitive use of a consonant sound at the beginning or at the start of two or more consecutive words. But consonance is the prominence or repetition of a consonant sound throughout a line or a sentence. Now, this repetition is not in the beginning, but it is either in the middle of the word or towards the end. Like, for example, if you see in line 4, I hold with those, th, with those. There is a repetition here, and that is why it is consonance. 7. Personification. What is personification? Human characteristic is attributed to a non-living thing. That is, a non-living thing is treated like a person. Now here both fire and ice have been personified by the poet. Both have been given the mind and power to destroy things. Now, let us look at the short questions. What is the poet expressing in this poem? What do you think the poet is expressing in this poem? Yes, the poet is expressing the fact that the world or the earth will come to an end. And he believes that there are two groups of people. One group believe that the earth will end in fire. The other group believes the earth will end in ice. The poet believes that the earth will end in fire, and if it gets a second chance to end, then it will end in ice. And please, children, also remember, the poet is not forcing his concept on anyone or his belief on anyone. You are free to believe or free to choose your opinion. He is not forcing his opinion onto anyone during the course of the poem. He is only expressing his opinion. Second question. What does fire stand for in the poem? Fire stands for, rhyming word, remember? Desire. Yes. Third, what does ice stand for in the poem? What is the symbolic meaning of ice? Hatred. Good. 4. What does the poet want to convey through this poem? Explain in your own words. Now, you are going to read again the gist of the poem, the main points, and then answer these questions. Thank you.